Welcome to the Beyond Sugar Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Dame, holistic nutrition coach and speaker. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. I hope you're having an amazing week and an amazing start to spring. It's finally here. I don't know if you were all connected with the full moon and the spring equinox on the weekend, but I myself definitely felt some of the potent energy. Definitely noticed, my emotional turmoil inside, with these energetic pulls of the universe and everything that, is going on right now. So just know if you're feeling a bit crazy or a bit off these days, it's okay. You're not alone. It's very much a part of, just what's going on energetically all around us. So hope you enjoyed it and did get to, spend some time also letting go and using that energy for something that's going to serve you. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I have something really exciting. I know that I've kind of shared teasers over the last few episodes about my upcoming emotional total reset program that I will be hosting in April. So stay tuned for more information about that. But what I wanted to share today, even more exciting, that I'm officially launching. You were the first to hear about it. I've been working behind the scenes to put together a 3-day emotional eating boot camp. This is going to be a live 3-day event that kicks off on April 3rd. And it's going to be like nothing I've ever presented or shared before. It is going to be really full of amazing shifts and transformations. And I'm working right now to really make it as impactful as possible. I haven't hosted a live workshop virtually since last fall. So spring is here. I'm ready to come out of the closet on actually a lot of healing tools that I've been using in my own emotional eating journey and really just blow the lid off some of these very deep-rooted problems and struggles that we're all dealing with that's causing us to reach for food, reach for sugar, to fill this void within us. So if you're someone who, like me, resonates with being anxious and stressed every day, or you just notice that when shit hits the fan, you turn to food, right? When the pandemic hit, when there's a death in the family, if you lose your job, or when a full moon comes around, like whenever heavy emotions show up for you, are you turning to food, to handle that stress, to numb out from that stress? And this is also going to be really an important piece. And what's going to make this, this conversation, this live training so unique is that we're going to be really diving into the truth that most of us don't trust our bodies. We don't trust our intuition. We don't trust our emotions. We don't trust that we're safe in our body. And we feel like our body is actually working against us. So if you resonate with that, like this is definitely something that you're going to want to attend. And like I mentioned earlier, if you notice that there's this void, right? I think so many of us, I know myself included, there felt like this hollow space in my chest, right? Like where my heart should be, what's actually going on? Why do I feel so disconnected from myself and ungrounded and empty and alone? And I want you to know you're not alone in that. This is a very common part of being human. We've all been raised in this, similar-ish fashion, where we do have that disconnect. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm going to be diving deep into really blowing your mind with some things that you probably had no idea were really at the root cause of a lot of this inner turmoil for you, which then leads to obviously our emotional states, which lead us to eating junk and sugar, and then lead us to gaining weight and feeling like crap and staying stuck in this loop year after year. So if you're someone that really struggles with that, I'm really excited to welcome you to the bootcamp. I'll post the link below this episode where you can officially come and get registered. Just save your spot. There'll be more information coming very soon. And I'm going to be teaching in this bootcamp how we can start to reconnect with our emotions and our body so we can really deeply begin trusting our own inner wisdom again. We're also going to be uncovering where your emotions come from, right? How are emotions actually created? And this is a really important framework to understand why we're emotionally eating. And I'm going to be sharing how, step by step, how you can actually begin repatterning your emotional eating live on that workshop. You're going to start actually taking action and implementing the tools that I'm sharing with you. And you're going to feel completely different at the end of this 3-day live training. So it's just a couple things, a little teaser. Like I said, there'll be more information coming soon, but I really cannot wait to invite you to that. I couldn't wait. So I knew I had to mention that today, and I'll post the link below, and you just mark your calendar. There's 3 different dates and times, and it's going to be incredible. I'm so excited to have this conversation, and there's going to be a lot of things, like I said, that I've learned in my own inner healing journey over the last 3-4 years that I've never talked about publicly. I'm going to be talking about in this training. So there's going to be some really big pieces that I'm nerve excited. That's my word. If you didn't know about my special word, nervous and excited, that's the zone that I like to live in. And that's the emotional home and state that I like to live in my life. That means that I'm doing something outside my comfort zone that's helping me grow. So I'm nerve excited, and I cannot wait to have you there and invite you. So let's dive into the weekly insight today. Now that you're registered for the boot camp in April, the insight and the update that I actually want to share with all of you today is a really big conversation. And it's something that I've honestly never spoken publicly about. And so this is a bit scary. I'm coming out of the closet here, and in a different way. And it's also a much bigger conversation than I'm going to share with you right here today. And it's something that I am going to be bringing on some experts and actually my personal integrator and coach in this area to share more about this in the coming months on the podcast. And I'll be sharing more depth about my journey and my experiences. But the message today and the insight that I want to share with all of you is that when transformation happens in your life, when you go through big periods of growth or struggle, which is also growth, it just matters what you take from it, right? When you go through these periods of life and times in your year, integration is actually at least 80% of the work. So we can have these experiences. And I know so many people come to me, having, maybe had a really gone to a retreat, right? Or had a really powerful weekend away, or really learned some big insights, went to a ceremony and really got some amazing insights about their patterning and what they want to change in their life. And, so many of us can relate. I know this because I've done this, going through those experiences of growth and clarity and connection with self, and getting back into the real world and just forgetting all about it. So this is where, when we have those big life-changing shifts and awarenesses, and we do the inner work in these big, powerful ways with whatever healing modality you're using, you have to remember that integration is 80% of it. The experience itself, whether it was a weekend retreat or a one-day ceremony, or, whatever it was that shifted you, right? You have these new insights, these new pathways in the brain that are calling to be wired in. The work now is to integrate that into your being and actually follow through with creating that new neural pathway. So things like getting out in nature, being creative, sitting in stillness, journaling, talking it out with a good friend. These are all things. And why I'm sharing this, and you're like, what's she coming out of the closet about? Why I'm sharing this is because what most people don't know is, over the last 3 years, I've been doing very deep healing work with psychedelics and plant medicines. And I'm being bold in saying that now, because I know that it's not as under the carpet as it has been in the years. There is a revolution taking place, and a real deep understanding and awareness that these medicines and these tools are the solution for our disconnection from the universe and healing our traumas and our addictions and everything. Just look into Gabor Mate's work. Just look at so many people. I know, obviously, Paul Stamets is kind of the leader in this world. There's so many people speaking out now. So many people in the health space speaking out now. A lot of the people that you probably look up to have used these modalities in some way to shift their consciousness and uncover pieces of their subconscious that you never would normally have access to. So why I'm sharing this is, this last weekend, I guess by the time I'm recording this, it was more than a week ago, I went through my most recent ceremony with psychedelics, and it was just insanely powerful. It was just there are no words. There's no words yet because I'm still in integration. It's still fresh. But essentially, one of the biggest things that came up for me is how ancestral trauma can be handed down. There was an ancestral trauma that was revealed to me in the medicine that I had no idea was in my physical energetic body and was actually preventing me, some of the struggles that I'm having in my life. And it showed me where I was holding that energy and the shame and the lack of acceptance and love for myself in those areas because of this trauma that wasn't even mine. And it was in my lineage. So we can learn and tap into, I know this is getting very woo-woo, but it's so powerful. And I literally can't put it into words. It's one of those things, like, if you don't know, if this is the first time you're ever hearing about this, you're going to think I'm crazy, and that's totally okay with me. But I want to plant the seed for you, do your own research and obviously look into things. But I'm officially coming out about using this as a tool in my healing journey. And without a shadow of a doubt, it has been the most profound experiences of my life, the handful of times that I've been in ceremony. And it's something that I'm going to be doing a lot more of, because I know in the depths of it, the healing capabilities for me and for my lineage and for the future of this planet. And I feel like it's definitely one of my responsibilities. So now, I say that with a whole bunch of disclaimers. Please do not go out and do psychedelics. Please do not go out and just start doing all these things that you're hearing in the media and in the news and you're hearing people talk about. This is a very, very, very sacred practice, and it needs to be approached with a lot of respect and a lot of research and a lot of tuning in to your own inner guidance and wisdom, and to have the right guide. Okay. There's just so many ways that you can do this wrong. So please, 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 this can be really dangerous. Don't do it unless you're supported in the right way. And if you ever want to chat about it, reach out to me. I will do more episodes on that coming up. I'm sure once I start finding my words on how to put it into words, the experiences that I've had, and I will bring in my integrator and coach who comes and sits with me in these experiences to come on the podcast. She'll come in the next couple months. So that's the quick Cole's Notes, huge update of kind of some of the very deep healing work that I've been doing. And now my job, as I said, is the integration. So I have pages and pages of notes from messages and awarenesses that came to me in the medicine. Now my job is to actually, clear those and heal those and spend some time, really processing through those and feeling them and all the emotional stuff that I need to do, because there's a lot. It's very heavy what came up for me. And that's the work now. So I'm in the process now of doing that. All right. Okay. Obviously I kind of want to keep talking about that subject. That's a good sign. Maybe I definitely need to do this episode of sharing my own experiences sooner than later. Let me know. What do you think? I obviously, want to make sure that what I'm sharing with all of you is relevant and something you're interested in. And I do feel like this huge movement is taking place, and I'm ready to talk about it. I think this is so important. So let me know if you want me to get that podcast recorded, if you're curious to know more about my own experiences. I'm happy to be vulnerable and open up. That is definitely how I lead, and ask any of my clients. They know that I am definitely an open book, and that's how we can shine our light for other people. So yes, excited to continue that conversation. Let's get into the topic today. That was a lot of updates, some really exciting updates. Like, hopefully your mind's already blown and you're like, what is Danny talking about? So really, really excited to dive in to today's topic. We're talking about the 3 mistakes that I see are the most common areas that people get tripped up and fool themselves when they're trying to kick sugar. I know a lot of you listening and a lot of my clients have been maybe trying to get off sugar for years, right? You've tried multiple times. You've tried the 30-day detoxes, you've done all this, and it just ain't working. And I don't know about you, but I think when I'm working towards a goal and something's not working, I really do love to know what my blind spots are. Like, where am I going wrong here? What's some of the reasons that it's not working? Because that's how we can really start to unfold what is working, right? We have to understand why this isn't working so we can fix it so that it works, right? Imagine, if you were building the first airplane, right? You need to know what parts aren't working, or the first computer, what circuits aren't connecting that aren't working so that we can actually connect them and make them work, right? So uncovering and being aware of some of these common pitfalls and mistakes, I think is really, really important, and why I wanted to share this topic today. And I, to be honest, it was hard to pull out just 3, but I wanted to keep it short and simple and sweet. And I really did, I think, hit the nail on the head with some of the 3 biggest mistakes that I see. And these can be applied to not just even your journey with sugar and getting off sugar and getting healthy, but other areas of your life as well. So this is really, these are universal mistakes, but they're definitely things that I see in the industry and with every one of my clients who comes through, like, okay, you've been doing this. That's why it hasn't worked for you. And that can be really empowering. And I want you to feel empowered after this episode so that you can start pulling yourself out of these mistakes, start making some shifts so that you're not doing these things anymore. And then you're going to start seeing results, right? If you're doing, obviously there's more to this picture. There's more to the journey to getting off of sugar than just these 3 things. But, I really just wanted to point out those blind spots for you. That's my role as your coach, right? To mirror these things for you and to point out these blind spots so that you can address them if you're ready and when you're ready. So what are these mistakes? Okay, let's dive in to mistake number 1. And this is one that I talk about very often because it is by far the biggest mistake that I see everyone making when they're trying to get off sugar. And this is where what I do is very unique and very deep. When my clients come to work with me, their minds are blown because this isn't about the food. This isn't about sugar. So mistake number 1 is completely ignoring the root causes and the inner pieces that are at the root of your addiction to sugar. Okay. This is so common and it drives me mad in the industry. I see other leaders in the industry, people that I used to look up to, really preaching this, that this is really the way through, is to just detox from sugar, right? Or just be in a community and willpower yourself every single day. It is BS. And I'm calling it out right now because until we uncover why we're addicted to sugar, we will never uncover a solution, ever. This is anything. Anybody familiar with Gabor Mate's work? I love how he speaks so passionately about this in the realm of just addiction in general. Sugar is just one of many, many, many addictions, right? We'll never, ever, ever uncover a solution until we first uncover why the problem exists. So this is really about starting to ask yourself better questions. Why can't I seem to give up sugar? Why am I addicted to sugar? Why? We have to bring back that childlike curiosity and start really understanding the root pieces, like what are at the base of this drive for me. And yes, one of them is probably the physical addiction. That's one of probably 30 or 40 root causes of your cravings and your patterns and your addictions with sugar. One of so many, right? 30, 40, 50, who knows, other causes that may be really propelling you to turn to food every day, right? And to tune to sugar. So this is like the basis of the diet industry. This is all it is focus on the food. Look at the food. This is what you should eat. This is what you shouldn't eat. Here's your list. Detox from sugar. Just avoid these things. Willpower your way through it. It's all about this 3D physical components, right? The food is very tangible and physical. It's something that you can like see and understand and control. That's why I say like it's the 3D stuff, right? It's in your like physical realm of, yes, I just need to, cook this meal or eat this many times a day, or, all these, whatever these crazy guidelines are that we've been told to follow all of our lives. So, this is, I'm going to say this because it's so true. And anyone who's done the inner work and understands what true healing is knows this 3D stuff, the detoxing from sugar, the eating a certain way, or, avoiding certain foods and these sorts of things that are very tangible and like actionable. This is the easy part. Easy. And that's why that's what we focus on, because we can see it, we can understand it, and it's easier than doing the inner work. When you actually start asking the questions of why do I feel so disconnected from myself? Why am I using food to fill this void? Where does this void come from? Why am I addicted to sugar? Why can't I stop? When you start asking these bigger and better why questions, it brings up a lot of stuff. Okay. And we all have a lot of baggage and a lot of stuff. That's not a bad thing. It's part of being human. We all have trauma. We all have sadness. We all have emotions we've never expressed. We're filled with anger and grief. And when we start diving into our inner world, this stuff comes up. And you have to be prepared to weather that and to work through it and go through those pieces. If you ever want to have a healthy relationship with food, with yourself, with your husband, with your friends, with the world, this is where it all starts. So one of the biggest mistakes, is this. This is by far, if anything in your realm is going to change, and this is my specialty, this is what I focus on with my clients. This is exactly what we're going to be going through in my upcoming program that starts next month. We're going to be doing all of this inner root work because that's where it starts. And if we want to really be free and at peace in our body with our relationship with food, we have to start there. So this is really important and why I really want to hit it home. One of the things that I'm going to be sharing actually in the upcoming Emotional Eating Bootcamp that kicks off April 3rd. You can register in the link below if you missed the earlier teaser about that, is that lasting change, right, is something that we all crave. Like we want to get to this place, right? We all have this dream of like, I just want to eat one cookie and be at peace. And I want to know that I'm looking after my body every day. And I want eating healthy to be effortless. I want to enjoy cooking, right? I don't want to be addicted to sugar anymore. We want all these changes and we want to be a different version of ourselves. And this is what's happening in that is an identity change. And what we're doing is focusing on the behavior and the environment. And there's actually a pyramid of change. We'll call it the pyramid of change. I'm going to be sharing in my upcoming bootcamp that really outlines like where we need to actually look to make lasting change. And a little teaser, it really is that identity piece. We need to be a different person, think a different way, show up differently every single day if we're actually going to be that healthy person. So I'm going to dive into that a lot more in the bootcamp. So don't forget to get registered below. All right. That's mistake number one, ignoring the inner work because it's hard. I'm not going to lie. I don't sugarcoat anything on this podcast. It is not easy. And this is where it's so important to have the right guidance, the right support, the right community, the right open, loving, safe, non-judgmental environment, which, believe it or not, is a lot rarer than you think. And is something that I really pride myself on in my groups, in creating that safe space so we can explore these wounds and these areas with love and compassion and know that we're held and supported in that. Really, really important. So don't be afraid to start asking those better questions. Okay. That's step one there. Start asking the why questions and you won't know right away. You're not going to get an answer right away. It's going to take some time, right? You might have to sit with that question for weeks before you have a breakthrough one day when you're out on a walk and you go, oh yeah, it's because my mom always rewarded me with food and it meant she loved me. So it's my source of love. Bam, right? Like these are the deep-rooted pieces that we need to look at, right? How we've gotten our love as a basic need growing up and so many other things. Obviously, this is a big topic and I love talking about it. We're going to be really diving deeper into a lot of this in the podcast and in the upcoming program. So mistake number two, let's move on to number two, numero dos. Okay. This is also a big pattern that I see. And this is really not just around sugar. This is literally what I see in the human consciousness right now, how humans are operating. And it's this operating, and here's the mistake, okay? Operating and believing that someone outside of us has our answers. So looking outside of ourselves for all of our answers. Now, this is something that this is learned behavior, right? So if you've never heard this before, it's the first 7 years of life that we learn how to show up in the world, right? This is where all of our beliefs come from and all of our imprinting and our programming and just how we operate so that we can stay safe and alive in the world. So what we're taught during those years as well is that our inner wisdom isn't important and that there's someone else like a doctor or, a teacher, right, that it has the answers for us. They know better than we know. We've been taught that we're not powerful, that we do not have our own answers. And this is by far the biggest lie that we have ever been told in the history of humanity. We create our own reality. That is pretty freaking incredible and powerful, if you ask me. And, with things like quantum physics and more people speaking up about the power of our brain and our thought patterns and our wiring and our energy, we know now without a shadow of a doubt that we have so much power and control over our genetics, epigenetics. We can turn on and off those things. We know that we can manifest, we can pull things into our life or attract negative or positive things. We have so much incredible power. And this also applies to our health, right? We live in a world where doctors are put on a pedestal, and we think doctors and the pharmaceutical industry have our best interest at heart and that they knows better than our inner wisdom. So what we're taught in our younger years is that go outside of yourself for answers because your body doesn't know, right? Your body's lying to you. Your body's working against you. Your body doesn't know what's right. The doctor knows what's right because he studied science. This is huge. And this is like, I really want you to sit with this because this shows up for every single one of us. We've all been raised in this way. This is the belief system of our society and our world, that these people of authority who have gone through lots of schooling and studied things, they know better about your body than you do. And this is where I first became passionate about coaching and guiding people through this, because it really is, as a coach, my role to help you understand you have all your own answers. Right? That I'm here to just like help you find that answer because it's hiding under layers of social conditioning. So how can we begin to get out of our heads? Because this is what we're doing. We're living up here. We're living, and even listening to this podcast, you're like, Danny's going to have all the answers for me. Newsflash, I have 0 answers for you. You have everything that you need within. Your intuition knows, your higher self knows. And I know this without a shadow of a doubt. I've seen it. I've experienced it in different conscious states. I've been there and back. And it's so true. And I cannot stress this enough, right? That our intuition is always right. Our guiding system that is, by the way, one and the same with the universe and our higher self and our soul, or whatever you want to call it, our spirit, that is how it communicates with us, is in those gut reactions, those instincts, those, you know what, I think my body just needs to rest today, and then letting it rest. Like, how often have we pushed ourselves through the whispers and the signals that our body sends us? And what I see going on, and this is a big conversation, I'm going off on a tangent, but this is really applicable, is that we, in this belief that we're not powerful and our body doesn't know what's right for us, and we can't trust our inner wisdom, what we've done is ignored it for so long that guess what the body has to do? It has to yell louder to tell us when something's wrong. And how does it yell louder? Pain, disease, debilitating headaches. Our body symptoms start to show up. Emotions are the first piece, is to tell you, wait, there's something off here. There's something out of balance, right? Like there's something in my world that needs to change. It's not working and it's not supporting my body and my health. But we ignore it. We stuff it down with food, with alcohol. We ignore the stress. We ignore the depression. We ignore the anxiety. We ignore it. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, we start to develop arthritis. We start to develop dementia or Alzheimer's. We start to develop cancers and heart disease. And our body starts screaming at us, right? Please fix what is wrong. Fix this imbalance. You are not looking after yourself. So we've been taught to silence those voices, and our body has no choice but to start yelling, right? Our intuition is the whisper. It's like hey, this job isn't actually good for you, or this relationship isn't working for you, or, hey, I think actually dairy hurts your body, right? Like sugar's ruining your life, right? These whispers that come up for us in the headaches, and the softer things as well, like energy depletion. Like these are kind of the first stages of, oh, there's an imbalance, right? Our bowel movements start to change. And this is all energetics. And we've been taught to ignore those, right? We just take some pills, make the symptoms go away, and all of a sudden we're quote unquote healthy again. And, what I want to encourage all of you to do is to put an end to this. And yes, it's not easy. It takes years. I'm still noticing where this pattern shows up for me, and it still does. I'm human. Of course it's going to show up, but really starting to notice, where can I practice, right? Listening to my intuition more. Maybe it's as simple as, getting up in the morning, and instead of having a structured morning routine, checking in with, what do I feel like doing this morning? right? Maybe leaving some open space to actually listen to what your body needs. Oh, I actually want to go for a walk. Or, you know what? I just need to sleep an extra half an hour today. What are the messages you're getting there? So start playing around with asking and listening to those parts of you that know what's good for you, right? And know what your right answer is, which, by the way, is going to be different than my right answer, and it's different than your friend's best answer. And really begin through this process of learning to trust your body again. We've been so disconnected. And this is exactly why we're going to be really diving into this in the boot camp, in the upcoming emotional eating boot camp. We're going to be talking a lot about how to trust your body again and your emotions, and how to use them as like a superpower instead of seeing them as something that is not important and just gets in the way of your life. Is really, really important to start honoring these pieces of yourself and essentially refilling that void from within that you're stuffing with sugar. So really powerful work, and a piece of the inner work that I talked about in mistake 1, but I really want to highlight this, right? Really get honest with yourself. Where are you looking outside of yourself for the answers? How many books have you read and YouTube videos have you watched and documentaries and podcasts? How often are you just trying to soak in more information? And how often are you also sitting with yourself in stillness and listening to your inner wisdom? Okay. There is room for both. They're both important. Okay. Yes, it's great to learn and to be aware of things like listening to this podcast. Oh, wow. I didn't even know these were mistakes I was making. Fantastic. I mean, please keep learning. Learning is great. But what I see is this huge imbalance. Most of us are spending 90, 95, 99% of our time information gathering instead of sitting with ourselves and tuning inward. So see if you can start to bring that balance, either by like doing a bit of a information detox. You don't have to soak in you don't have to learn anything new for a whole week. And see what happens. See how much you start actually hearing your whispers, because your whispers can't be heard from your intuition when you're up here all the time. When you're just thinking, learning, you're always around noise. There's always music going, or a podcast or TV, or heaven forbid the news. Please turn that off if you're still listening to that. So can you bring those back into a better balance, right? And maybe spend some more time just sitting in stillness and silence outside, right on the deck with a cup of tea, just being in silence for a minute, right? What a gift to yourself. And then also trying to bring down the amount of time that you're just looking outside of yourself. And before you know it, you'll start really being able to find a nice flow between the two and honoring, what you need in any moment in that, and start to really trust that part of you again. Obviously it's a big process. And that's why we're using my upcoming program. So we've got the community and the accountability to go through that, because, learning about it is one thing, but actually putting it into practice and consistently doing these practices and listening to your intuition on a weekly basis can be really difficult. It's easy to do it for a week and then quit, right? So that accountability and that group support is so vital, which is why I'm so excited to be doing that. So that's mistake number 2, looking outside yourself for the answers. It is a lie. You have all the answers. And I, for one, am going to stand here and just always remind you how crazy powerful you are and how important it is to honor what's right for you. I don't know what's right for you. I never, ever will. And anybody who tells you they know what's better for you, that's a red flag. Run in the other direction. You have my full permission to leave the room, tell them thank you, no thank you, and disappear. Anybody who tells you what you need to do and doesn't honor your piece in it and your opinion and your intuition on that cannot help you. All right. Let's go into mistake number 3. Let's do it. I know this is a really juicy one, and I love having this conversation. I'm so excited to hear your feedback from this as well. Don't forget to always send me a message on Instagram and Facebook. Would love to hear your biggest takeaway, and sharing these podcasts obviously help me in such a big way. So if any of this is resonating or blowing your mind, please share this podcast with your friends. Make sure that you're subscribed and leave a review. Of course, really, really helpful. Okay. Mistake number 3. Okay. This is a mistake that I made for years, not only in starting my own business, but also in my journey with getting a handle and back in the driver's seat with sugar, is trying to do it alone. Okay. Trying to do this alone, thinking I got this. I'm just going to listen to the podcasts and the documentaries and make my own plan. And I got this. Now, especially, you might be able to do the detox by yourself, right? And the physical 3D pieces that we were talking about earlier. But when you start going into this inner work stuff, it is impossible to do alone. This is really like, and I mean that impossible. I know how powerful you are, but this is literally one of those things. It's like trying to drive a car without tires. It's impossible. The car will not move. Like it's just, they have to go together. It's like, it's a no-brainer. It's not an optional piece. And I see so many people doing this. And I did this because I prided myself on being a strong, confident, independent woman. I can do anything on my own. I don't need anyone's help. I mean, let's talk about that for a second. Like how none of us as women ask for help, and it needs to stop. Because we're not meant to do things in isolation. You know, the saying, it takes a village, right? We're not even meant to raise kids alone, let alone struggle and grow and learn. Because what we do when we're alone is we just see through our glasses, right? We see through tunnel vision, all the things. And when we have other people with us in community, what we start to see are our blind spots. Right? We start to see ourselves in other people. We start to know we're not crazy, we're not alone, but we also start to broaden our vision, broaden our mind, start shifting the way we see ourselves in the world in a really positive way if it's the right community. So don't do this alone. This is a huge, huge mistake. And I want to mention something here as well that's kind of like a part B to this mistake is I see a lot of people also, joining countless free Facebook groups. I know I even have a free Facebook group, Simply Balanced Health. If you haven't joined it, I think you can find the link below. But this belief that I just need to be in these Facebook groups or be on these monthly Zoom calls with this community without actually giving much thought to the energy and the style of the community. So what I mean here is I see so many people that understand they shouldn't do it alone, that they need community, joining these communities that are the wrong community. And by wrong, I mean energetically unsupportive and unguided. So what most of us are dealing with, especially as women, as our core wounds are disconnection and feeling judged from other women. I know I have countless stories of environments that I've been in and groups that I've been in and friend circles that I've been in where I've been shamed and judged and hurt, stabbed in the back, talked about behind my back. I mean, women are nasty, especially in the younger years. And hopefully all of you listening have grown out of this, but it's nasty. And we do have a lot of trust issues with other women. And when we have that energy and that trauma, which we all have, bringing into some sort of group that isn't held and created and led in a way that we can start healing those traumas, we'll never really get to the place of authenticity and vulnerability that we need to get to if we want to actually heal these parts of us. So think of, just having the door cracked a little bit, right? You're joining a community. You're like, I'm going to crack the door. I'm just going to let you in a little bit because I don't want to get hurt. Right. And that's fair, right? I'm going to just open a little bit. I'm just going to share like little bits about my day and maybe like what I ate and maybe how tired I was today. Right. And when we have those surface level conversations about our relationship with food and our relationship with ourselves, we're never going to have a breakthrough. We're never going to create lasting change. We have to be in a space where we can blow the lid off, open the door, rip the door off the hinges and throw it in the fire and have that portal, that door open into ourselves, which is one of the scariest things that a human can ever do. And I want you to know that I get this. Being vulnerable is terrifying because we have all been hurt when we've been vulnerable. At some point in our lives, usually in your childhood, you were vulnerable, you shared a fear, you shared something and someone shut you down or judged you or shamed you or said something nasty to you. And you learned, do not open up, do not be vulnerable. So this is one of the pieces in this journey is as we come together in deep connection and community, it has to be the right community. It has to be the right safe space. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of people who know how to create that safe space. And it's something that I'm still learning how to do. And I will admit that I'm very proud of the safe spaces that I've created and the feedback that I've gotten from women who've been through my programs and how incredibly open and vulnerable and safe to do so and not judged. And, how they were able to open up and cry for the first time and really feel things and be witnessed and seen. I mean, a lot of that is very deep stuff that we need to heal through together collectively in being seen and heard and knowing that we're going to be loved, even if we share our deepest wounds. And that's really, really a beautiful testament to how I lead and the women that I attract into these programs, showing up for each other in that deep healing way. This is beyond our relationship with food, right? But it's at the root of it. It's at the root. This is one of the root inner pieces that is like kind of going on in the back end when I host my programs, is healing our relationship with women, healing our relationship with being vulnerable and authentic and opening up so that we can heal. So please, please, please be very careful and very cautious, especially in these free groups, right? Where they're not really led by anyone. There's no monitoring. There's no accountability. There's just a bunch of mishmash people in one place. They have a time and a space, but they're not going to be anywhere that you're actually going to be able to open up and really go deep because you don't feel safe doing it. I get it. I'm in a lot of free Facebook groups and I don't open up my inner wounds there because it's not the space to do that. It's not the proper container of safety and love and support that I need. And I get that in other places. So just be really careful. Are you in the wrong community? And, because a lot of you listening may think, well, I'm not doing it alone. I'm in all these groups and I'm hearing other people's stories, and that's great. But at some level, you're still alone. Right? When we have this superficial community and these superficial just people around us, we're still deeply alone. Because we're not actually being seen at our core, because we're not showing anybody our core because it's not safe to do so. And it makes sense. So just something for you to be aware of, right? Like finding that right community. And I'm not saying that, my program might, and my communities might not be that for you. That's totally fine. But I really want you to be on alert because it is a gift and an honor that people have to earn in your life to see those parts of you, to feel like you can open up and talk about your shame, talk about your traumas, talk about the pain that you're feeling and the loneliness and the sadness that you're experiencing, all these things that I have been through a lot and I'm still going through. Right. And I hope to be that beacon of vulnerability and authenticity for everyone that I come in contact with, and really talking about these parts and these wounds of mine. Because we all have them. And we have to be able to open up to those. So find the right community. Okay. This is mistake number 3, is trying to do it alone. The right community is going to help keep you inspired and motivated and really give you the energy of safety of, wow, I can be vulnerable here. I can be vulnerable and I'm still going to be okay, right? I'm going to be loved. And this is really the deep connection, deep soul connection that we can even do virtually, by the way. I know this because the last groups that I've hosted over the last 2 years, we've been doing this virtually. Actually, I've been doing virtual for 5 years now, and I've seen this can be created virtually. And, this deep connection is, I believe, one of our collective biggest core wounds. And when we can start to feel that sense of connection, especially after the last 2 years, anybody relate with feeling maybe a little lonely and disconnected the last 2 years? And really, it's been more than the last 2 years. Most of us have been lonely and disconnected, even when we're surrounded by other people. And we have to find a way in to have deeper connections, because that is really the path to peace and freedom. And when we are in that internal state, it becomes easy to make healthy choices. So there you have it. Quick recap. Obviously, each of these are a podcast on their own, but I wanted to just highlight these 3 biggest mistakes so that you can be aware and start really journaling and spending some time feeling, not thinking, feeling into each of these and where they might be coming up for you. So mistake number 1 is ignoring the inner work, right? Focusing just on the 3D stuff, building a new habit, eating a certain way, the food stuff, things that you can see and change and understand, really just ignoring asking those why questions. Mistake number 2 is looking outside of yourself for the answers, right? Believing that you are not powerful and you do not, you're not able to trust your body, right? Those beliefs that are so toxic and also huge lies. So, really start seeing where you can find that balance of starting to listen to your inner wisdom again and toning down the information gathering brain stuff so that you can hear your body talking to you. So looking outside yourself for answers is mistake number 2. Mistake number 3 is trying to go about this healing and this transformation to sugar freedom and freedom from everything, your body, right? Is trying to do it alone. Mistake number 3 is trying to do this alone or with the wrong community, the wrong energy, the wrong support, the non-safe space. So really, really, really highlighting those 3 mistakes for you. I hope that was eye-opening. I hope that hit home for you and that you've had some big aha moments. Like I said earlier, I would love to hear about them. Please send me a message, send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook. Would love if you shared this episode with everyone that you know and love, because I feel like this was a really powerful one. This was really good. We're going to just keep getting deeper and deeper on this podcast. And as a final reminder, don't forget to come and register and save your spot at the upcoming Emotional Eating Bootcamp that kicks off on April 3rd. So this is a brand new training that I'm creating. It's completely free to join, and it's going to be just so powerful. I've learned so much in my own emotional eating and just my inner world and my own inner healing over the last 6 years. And especially, I would say, over the last 2 years. I've been doing some really big work, and I cannot wait to share a lot of that with you. Things that, like I said, I've never shared before. So if you resonate with being an emotional eater, or you just know that food is your go-to whenever you have a hard day, right? Did you turn to food when the pandemic started? When shit hits the fan, like is food your go-to? And also, really, if you resonated with any of these mistakes that I mentioned, these are going to be 3 topics that we're diving a lot deeper into. And I'm actually going to be giving you tangible tools, and you're going to be taking action. Okay. This bootcamp is not, that's why I call it a boot camp. This isn't just a workshop where you're going to sit and take notes and then go on with your life the next day. You're going to be taking action, because at the end of the 3 days, and it's actually spread out over a week, so there's days in between each of the videos, that you're going to be having some homework. You're going to actually be shifting that week. And at the end of the week, you're going to feel emotionally and energetically freer and lighter and more connected. And it's really, really going to be a beautiful process to go through together. And I really hope that you'll join us. Registration link is below in the show notes. And thank you so much for tuning into another episode. This was a really fun one for me to talk about, and really, really excited to keep these conversations going. Thank you so much. Okay. Have a beautiful week. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you're loving what we talked about today, please remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone you love. And if you're ready to dive deeper into discovering your root causes and patterns that are keeping you hooked on sugar, be sure to check out our brand new free workshop series that will help you kick emotional eating for good. Find the link to download this free series and other amazing resources in the show notes below.